Hi, everyone. We'll get started with the webinar today now. I guess a few people might join during the session. So welcome new and returning companies to this webinar, paving the way for the H1 2021 off-grid sales and data collection. To kick things off, maybe let me introduce the team which will be hosting the webinar today and who'll be chiming in further on in this presentation. So my name is Oliver Reynolds. I'm the Market Insights and Data Manager at Gogler. I'll be the one basically supervising the entire process of data collection until the end where you guys get your personalized access to the data this autumn. Joining me today are Patricia and Jerry. She's a member engagement manager at Gogler based in Nairobi, and she has been and will continue, she's waving, and she has been and continue being a key contact person for participating companies during this process. And also helping me with this webinar today is Chef Ketelars. He's a senior research manager at Gogler. He's been supporting this process in the past and has even led it during the past round of data collection. So without further ado, we'll head into the webinar. Basically, the objective today is to answer three key questions. One is kind of, what is this process and this data collection, and what is it for? And the second one is, what's in it for you as participating companies? And the longest one will be how to actually participate, and it'll be kind of a tutorial essentially on how to enter the data into the questionnaire and the online environment that we'll provide for you. As you've noticed, everyone is muted. We'll keep this during the entire presentation. So we'll ask you to use the chat to share questions, and we'll take those at the end of the session once we've gone through the presentation. Also, just so you know, please note that we are recording the webinar and it will be available to you probably on Monday, as well as this slide deck. So kicking things off, looking at kind of what is this process? So the global off-grid solar market data collection is the most complete source of sales and impact data for our sector. We collect data from the industry every 6 months. So both from Gogler and Lighting Global affiliates. So this includes Gogler members, companies that have Verisol verified products. We also, since 2018, collect data from companies involved in the Global Leap Awards and the Layer program. So this leads to our data basically being separated into two segments. On the one hand, the lighting products, which can be lanterns, multi-light systems, and solar home systems. With a plug and play aspect, but the basic rule is that each one has to include at least a solar panel, battery, and at least one lighting point. We don't record sales of top-ups or components separately. So if you're selling solar home system and then you sell a solar panel or a battery as a top-up or replacement, that is not something we record as part of this exercise. And then, so the other part of this, the other segment is off-grid solar appliances. So currently we publish specific data for TVs, fans, refrigeration units, and solar water pumps. But we also have an other category that currently groups all other types of appliances. If you sell agro-processing appliances or egg incubators, hair clippers, these would typically fall into this category for the moment, but we are closely monitoring this, and it's also kind of a basis of analysis for us to understand which are the next appliances that we should be showcasing more directly. So the outputs of this entire process there are two kinds. One is the online platform, which you as participating companies will have access to, where you can see your personalized data. But my colleagues will come back to this in more detail and show you kind of what that looks like in the following slides. One of the other outputs is public reports that we share. So for those of you who've never seen our publication, this slide and the following one give you a quick sense of the type of insights that we share publicly. I won't go into all the details here, especially as this deck will be shared with you afterwards. But basically, yeah, we share aggregated sales data about the sector to help stakeholders get an idea of the market size, the potential. So we share products like 3.6 million off-grid lighting products were sold in the second half of 2020, split between cash sales and pay-as-you-go business model sales. We split that out between lanterns, 2.29 million, multi-light systems, close to 700,000, and solar home system a bit over 600,000. And we also convert that into the newly installed capacity globally. So obviously we look at trends. Obviously, for the past 2 rounds of reporting, this has been highly influenced by the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic. And we also share data in those reports, still aggregated, but at a more regional or even country level. So that's typically the type of data we share. This is for the lighting, and on the following slide, you can see similar data for the appliances. So we group them by type of product. Here you see there's also radios, and we also have an analysis by trend. And as I said, we also try to give an idea of what's happening at a more local level. Please also keep in mind that the appliance process for data collection is a younger process than for the lighting products. So there are currently fewer companies reporting appliances, but this is growing faster and faster, and we're catching up on that side as well. And maybe important to add is that in these reports, so they're not only a pure sales data report, we go further and we consult with industry members to provide additional explanation and rationale behind the trends that we showcase in the reports. I'll now hand over, if I can unmute her, to my colleague Patricia. Patricia.
Okay. Yes, can you hear me?
Great. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Oliver. Once again, thank you for those who managed to attend. I know I've interacted with almost all of you through the communication I sent for the pre-invite, and I'm glad to be able to speak to you about why you should participate in this data round. So I'll walk you through a couple of slides that outline the benefit of your participation, either as an organization, the benefit to you and to the overall sector. Next slide, Oliver, thanks. So why should you participate? We have 2 benefits. One, the direct added value to you as a company, and the indirect added value. So you will receive a personalized market share report containing your sales benchmarked against the industry. So this means your sales will be listed, and an aggregate of all the other sales reported will also be available. So this means that it will help you determine your market share or position on a global scale across all the major markets that we have received information on. Sorry, excuse the background noise. I'm in the house and my kids are playing. The second bit is that you'll receive an effective impact measurement of the products that you currently sell. And so the effective impact measurement is of your products to the end users. So because now we're automatically calculating these impact metrics through a Gogler framework that was put in place to be able to calculate this. So you will understand your products, how much of what you've sold, how much has it offset in terms of the CO2 or the other impact it's had, maybe with regards to businesses. Have they been able to operate more, better? So that is also information that you'll be able to access. And then with regard to the indirect added values, the aggregated sales and social impact data will be shared with industry stakeholders, which is important because then they get to understand what is happening in the sector. And even as investors are coming to the sector, they have a view or an understanding of the impact that this sector is having in general. But something that is key to emphasize here is no confidential data will be shared. So no data of a particular company's, what they reported will be shared. This will be high level aggregated data. Then of course, there'll be increased general awareness of the off-grid solar sector and the effective impact measurement. Next slide, please. So we've had, these are just quotes from organizational companies that have been reporting. For example, Delight has been reporting ever since this was launched, I believe, about 10 years ago. And they've been reporting, and they, as Ned says here, the company, the data is kept confidential, first of all, but then you're able to get a lot of valuable insights from the report that you'll be able to get from this process. And then also we have a quote here from Samir of Sun Culture, and he says, every 6 months, our leadership team looks forward to reviewing the Google's semi-annual market report and the detailed insights. And he encourages everyone, and which is what we're also doing here, for companies to participate, because the more information we gather, the more data we gather, the more accurate and more insights we get into what's happening in our sector. So this is a snapshot of what the online platform will look like. My colleague Chef will go through it in detail, but this is just a snapshot of what it's going to look like. And so what will happen is, sorry guys, just give me 1 second, please. Sorry. I'm back, sorry guys. So as I was mentioning, this is a snapshot of what the platform will look like. So once you share, in my email, previous email, I'd requested for you to share the details of the person you want us to register on the platform and their email address. So once that is done and they're able to log in, this is what they'll see on the first screen. And this data shows that you can be able to access your data as a company and also see what other people have reported. And this can go by, you can even get details. When you click on a graph, you're able to see much more detailed information, for example, with regard to the countries, country level data, or even the type of product, if it's a home system, the type of home system, and even the category by size of the system that has been reported. So you're able to access the data that is currently available, and also there's a strong possibility of being able to access historical data. And then most importantly is you'll be able to download the reports. So that means for whatever information you need, if you want to know the sales that happen in a particular country, for example, Kenya, you'll be able to access that information and print out the report that shows you what you're looking for. And this you can be able to share with the rest of your team, or even with investors or other stakeholders that you're interacting with. So that means you don't have to give everyone access to your data or access to your platform, but you're able to share the information or the data that you want to share with them. Next slide, please. So the public report. So the public report will only present aggregated data from manufacturers, and no company data, and this is important for us to emphasize, no company data is going to be shared publicly. So that means that we will not report no data for any particular company. The sales that you've reported or the information that you've reported will be shared by anyone apart from yourself. So any information that we're going to share, especially on the public arena, will be high-level aggregated data that we share. And to ensure confidentiality, we are using a 3 data point rule. This means that at least 3 separate manufacturers have reported data for any singular product category, region, or country. So this, for example, means if you have someone, a manufacturer reporting from, let's say, Malawi, and they're reporting on an appliance like the TV, the 32-inch TV, and then they're the only ones who are reporting. So they're reporting their data about an appliance, which is the 32-inch TV, but no one else is reporting. Maybe the rest are reporting the 16-inch or the 24-inch TV, so no one else is reporting under that category. That data will not be recorded, because then anyone can be able, if someone really wants to find out who that person is, all they have to do is a bit of research and they'll know who it is that is selling 32-inch TVs in Malawi. So for us to be able to broadcast or publish any data, we have to have the 3-point rule where 3 manufacturers and a particular product category or region or country are reporting their data. And then as Oliver mentioned, we'll be focusing on the lighting kits. This is lanterns and home systems. And I think the maximum watts should be about 350 of what we'll be reporting under the 7 product categories. And then we'll also have the appliances, and as Oliver has also mentioned, it will be under 4 categories: TVs, fans, solar water pumps, and refrigeration units. Next slide. So the final slide on my end is the data collection process overview. So we are going to open the questionnaire, or we are going to open access to the data platform on the 12th of July. And the first thing that you're going to get is the data sharing agreement. So you'll receive an email with the data collection when it opens. And what you'll be able to access on the platform is the data sharing agreement. So if you need more information on how we treat our data, who has access to our data, this is the report or agreement that you will need to go through. So in July, we'll be filling out the questionnaire, and this is open for 2 weeks. So this is open for 2 weeks from 12th of July. That means that we request that you fill in your data as soon as you can, because we'll be sending reminders. Given the period of time to fill out is quite small, we'll be sending out reminders. So for you to not get 20 reminders from Patricia, please take the time to fill the questionnaire as soon as you can. And then between July and August, we will be doing the quality control and analysis of the data. And also during this point, I may reach out to you in case we are reviewing your data and there's something that's not very clear, or there's something that's missing, or there's data you've shared, but we're not 100% sure about something. We'll be able to reach out to you during this period to just confirm. This ensures that we report accurate and correct data. Then between October and November, then the results will be published. So what we normally aim for here is to share the results at least 1 week with all the members who reported their data, to give them access to the results at least 1 week before we go live or we go public in sharing the results, the aggregated results with the rest of the public. And then for questions, clarifications, please reach out to me anytime. My email is p.njeri@gogla.org. If you need that, please just let me know and I'll share it. So reach out when you're filling out the questionnaire. During the process of filling out, if you want someone registered and they've not been registered on the platform, I'm happy to help. Thank you so much. So we'll move on to the next slide on how to participate. My colleague Chef will pick this up.
Great, yeah, thank you, Patricia, and hi everyone, glad you can join us. So how to participate? There are basically 5 steps. Next slide, please. Step 1 is you go to data.gogla.org. That's where the platform is. If you're a first-time participant, you will receive a one-time login link in your email, which you can use to log in and set up your account. As Oliver already mentioned, you received an invite to the data collection because you're either a member of Gogla or an affiliate of IFC Lighting Global or the LEA program. Know that if you need another account for someone in your organization, do let Patricia know. She will be able to set up another account for you. We can also create different user rights for these accounts. So for example, we can set it up so that a user is able to submit data and view results, but also that a user can only view the results. So you can ask us to change that if you want. Once you log in, there are basically 3 sections that you need to fill in, and I'm going to walk through those in a minute. We first ask general questions, so company info, which products you sell and in which region. We then ask you to share specifications for each product, and lastly, the number of products you sold. And then last but not least, and important, you submit. Next slide. You can use this slide deck for reference, but I'll go through the different steps now. When you enter the platform, you will be presented with this dashboard. The view results button will not be visible yet. This will only appear once the results are ready. But to start the questionnaire, you just click the big star button and you will open the questionnaire. Next slide. We are happy to announce that for the first time this round, we now provide the questionnaire in the Chinese language as well. By default, the Chinese language is enabled in addition to English, but you can disable this by clicking on Tools in the top right corner and click Disable, and then you disable the Chinese language. Next slide. You start the questionnaire in the General Questions tab. Questions marked with an asterisk are mandatory. For other questions, we are keen to have that information, but it's obviously not necessary or essential for your participation. It is mandatory to fill in the first section, which collects data on company details, because this information will be used throughout the questionnaire. And on this slide, you can see the questions, how it looks both in English and Chinese. But when you disable Chinese, you will only see the questions in English. Next slide. Once you entered your company details, we ask you to share which products you sell, either lighting, appliances, or both. If you sell lighting products, we ask you to specify if you sell your own lighting products or if you distribute other company products. So we collect this information on the company level. However, for appliances, this same question will be asked, but then on the product level. And this is because for appliances, it is more common for companies to both manufacture their own appliance products, but also distribute products or appliances from other companies. So for appliances, we collect this information on the product level, and this will be asked later in the questionnaire. But it is important to fill this in correctly. Next slide. The next thing we ask you to do is to list all your products. So if you sell lighting products, we ask you to fill in the names of the products here, either the trading name or a logical name. And I want to stress that please give them logical names. This helps us during data quality control. What is also really important is to not group multiple products in one line. So please only add one product per product line. You can add a new product by clicking Add Product. When you participate for the first time, you need to list all the products you sell here. But the good news is that you only need to do this once. So the next time you participate, the product information will be preloaded. So you don't have to do this again. Only if you recently started to sell a new product, you need to add that new product. Once you've filled in the product name, we ask you if you sold this product in the last half year and if you're still selling this product. So in case you're a returning company, your products are preloaded, but in case there's a product you did not sell, or you can indicate that here. So you can select no for products that you no longer sell, and you can select no yes for products that are still in your product portfolio, but that you just didn't sell this round. Lastly, we ask you to indicate whether you sold the products B2B or B2C. So for example, to a distributor, government, or an NGO, or B2C, so directly to a customer. Next slide. For appliances, it is the same procedure as for lighting. And note that there are explanatory notes below the questions as well. So you can also read this through once you submit the questionnaire. But also here, please only add one product per product line, so one appliance per product line. Please also note that we collect appliances separate from solar home systems. This was also already mentioned by Oliver in the beginning, but I just want to stress that again. So if you, for example, sell a solar home system which includes a TV, please add the TV here separately. We do not extrapolate the number of appliances you sold from the lighting products you sold. We collect these products separately. So if you sold a solar home system with a TV and a radio, please add the TV and radio both on their own product line here. Next slide. Then next, we ask you in what regions you sell your products. We also ask you in which countries you sold your products. These last two countries, the country questions are not mandatory, but we highly appreciate if you fill this in. So once you click on a region, you can scroll down and the countries in that region will appear. And then you can tick all countries that apply. So again, please fill in both the region and the countries, and note that both region and countries will also show up later in the questionnaire when you fill in your sales. Next slide. Once you've entered all the general information, you will then move into the next section of the questionnaire of product specification. We have that for lighting and for appliances. In this section, you will fill in the product specs of every single product separately, and you will find all the products that you entered in the general tab. You find them listed here. You can expand the product view by clicking on the small arrow on the left. You can see here it's next to test 1 and test 2. You see here also that the lines are red. This happens in case there are still mandatory product specs missing. So if everything is filled in properly, the bar will turn gray with a check mark. If you can click next slide, Oliver, I think we have a, yeah, indeed. So it turns gray like this. And that means everything's filled in properly. Again, there's good news because for returning companies, the product specs will be pre-filled as well. So you only have to do this once or only for products where product specs have changed. Next slide. So when you click on the small arrow, you expand the product view and you will present it with a list of mandatory and non-mandatory questions. You can see the mandatory questions here on this slide. A few things I want to point out is first that we ask you if the product is quality verified. Know that when you are invited to join a data collection, this is either because you're an affiliation or because you sell at least one product that is quality verified, as Oliver mentioned. However, what is really important is that once invited, you can submit both quality verified and non-quality verified products, so all eligible products. We just ask you to indicate if the product is quality verified or not. So please do not only submit quality verified products, but also non-quality verified products. Another question we ask is if you sell it via cash or PayGo. We call it PayGo if the end customer purchased the product in more than one installment, and we call it cash if it's paid in only one installment. So that's the definition there. Next slide. Yeah, then lastly, before I hand over to Oliver, we also ask you a few non-mandatory questions, which are listed here, such as the warranty period and runtime of your product. These questions are not mandatory, but we highly appreciate it if you fill this in, because this data is used for the impact estimates that we calculate each round. So if you can, please fill this in. This also is the case for the FOB price and the total cost of ownership for PayGo products. We use this information for calculating the total market value. Almost all companies fill this information in, so that's great because it's very helpful as it allows us to estimate the market value as accurately as possible. So again, we highly appreciate it if you submit this data as it improves our market value calculation. And I think that's it from my side. Yeah, thank you very much for your attention, and over to you, Oliver.
Thanks a lot, Chef. So I'm going to try and switch over to the actual platform to give you a quick glimpse, but bear with me because I'm going to have to stop sharing and start sharing again. So here we are. And here we are. So I'm hoping you can all see my screen. So this is what the platform looks like on the web page. So here we're already in the product specifications that Chef talks about. You can see here the first lighting product, it hasn't been fully specified yet. And I'm going to switch over quickly to the appliances. But so basically the system overall is the same as what Chef described for the lighting product. So you will have your products appear in red as long as it's not properly filled in. So if you sell energy efficient appliances, you'll need to fill in the product specs here. There's specific, obviously, specs that change depending on the type of appliance that you're selling. So for each different product, so here fake product is named A1. So if I choose fan, TV, refrigeration unit, solar water pump, or other, it will list the specific questions that relate to that type of appliances below. So we start off with which type of appliance. Then we have whether this appliance is AC or DC, the warranty period, which will need to be entered in years. So for example, if there isn't any, it will be 0. If it's 18 months, it'll be 1.5 years. In the box below, you can highlight if there are significant differences in the warranty period between different components of the product sold. Here you see whether, so here there's whether the appliance package as sold to the customer includes a user manual with instructions and electrical safety requirements within it. Question 13, in terms of filling in the questionnaire, is particularly important that you get this right. So here the idea is, as Jeff said, we don't extrapolate the sales of appliances from the solar home systems, but we still want to link the two together. So here we ask you to give us the proportion of this particular appliance, so appliance A1. So let's say it's a TV and 50% of them are sold with solar home systems. Here you would need to fill 50 and 50, and here it lights up to 100. If the two figures you enter here do not add up to 100, it won't be counted as properly filled in, and it is a mandatory question. So we have a non-mandatory question on what is included in the appliance kit beyond the appliance itself. So it could be cables, piping, a panel, etc. Then back to, we have two more mandatory questions here. One is the rated power consumption of the appliance. Here, if you are selling this particular appliance as a manufacturer or as a non-manufacturing distributor, which is what Chef highlighted earlier on when talking about the general questions for lighting products. Here, especially if you're a non-manufacturing distributor, what is the brand of said appliance? Can this appliance be powered by any other company's solar home system, or if it's being sold bundled, can it only be powered by your solar home system? Two more non-mandatory questions here. What is the minimum panel size required? What is the ideal operating voltage? And question 33 is whether this product is sold pay-as-you-go or cash, which Chef also highlighted what described earlier on. So it's the same definition in terms of the multiple installments for pay-as-you-go versus one installment for cash. Similarly, we have the FOB price non-mandatory question. Here we have the breakdown of the FOB price between the appliance itself and the balance of system. So cables, panels, piping, etc. But that is non-mandatory, but we highly appreciate to better understand and better represent market value for appliances in the future. And here you're free to share any additional information. So I'm going to switch back to the PowerPoint. Hopefully this time I don't need to go through the stop share. So I'll go through relatively quickly because I've gone through this on the platform. But so product specification for appliances. Here we have the mandatory questions, which we've gone through together. I'll just focus on the bottom of the screen on those that are specific to each type of appliance, which I didn't show you on the platform. So for fans, you'll be asked what type of fan it is. So that will be typically is it a tabletop fan, a pedestal fan, how big it is, what's the diameter in inches. For TVs, we'll ask for the display size in inches. For refrigeration units, we'll ask you for the type of products and the volumes. And for solar water pumps, similarly, type of products and the head and flow rates at duty point. And then you'll see there's a few additional non-mandatory questions that are specific to the appliances here. The first few I went through on the platform itself, but for fans, you have the rated air delivery as a non-mandatory question. For refrigeration unit, is it a chest that you open from the bottom up, or is it an upright fridge that you open with a vertical door? Does it have built-in storage? What's the rated refrigerator volume? And for solar water pumps, you'll see specifications about the type of solar water pump as a non-mandatory question as well. So this one we went through together, but yeah, well, obviously we need the total between bundled and unbundled products specified to add up to 100%. So an important note, as you can see, especially for first-time companies, this can be quite a long process the first time around. Obviously, we've made sure that once you've gone through the adding of each appliance once, you won't have to do that again in 6 months, in a year, and each other time. And we hope you'll participate. But you can take a break, so you can save and exit and keep all your progress and return later, or if you need someone else to give you a hand with a specific section and you want them to fill it in, that's also possible. So you save and exit. If somebody else is going to help you fill in the questionnaire, please log out first and then allow them to log in again. If we have 2 people from the same company logging in at the same time and modifying the questionnaire, it will create conflicted copies. And we'll then need to get back to you to kind of sort out the mess. We risk asking you to do things again, which we really don't want to do. So yeah, so please make sure in terms of if you're several people in the company needed to fill this in, a bit of housekeeping in terms of logging out and logging in, so that there are never 2 people trying to fill this questionnaire in at the same time. So yeah, so I will get this into the next slide, but essentially you can save and exit without finalizing. To finalize, you have to click the finalize and submit button on the last page. And we won't be able to use partially filled questionnaire, so really make sure that you go all the way to the end of this process. So all this to get to finally the moment where you enter sales. So basically what will happen is you will have this first tab at the top with sales for the period. You can see that it's split between B2B and B2C with 2 separate buttons. So if I clicked here on the website on this B2B, it would open the window below with B2B sales. And you have to do that for B2C as well, for each of the regions where you reported selling products. But once you click on said pop-out box that will be like this, it will show as a table with your products as columns and the countries within the region where you're active as rows. And then you just have to enter for given products. So if I sold 1,000 units in Cameroon of test 1, I would put it here. But for example, if I didn't sell test 2 in Cameroon, I would just leave this cell empty. And the row at the bottom here will automatically add up the sales of each product. That's basically also to help you guys double check, allow to make a quick sense check of like, does it seem like it's the right volume of products for Sub-Saharan Africa or South Asia and so on. And so yeah, as it's written on the right, obviously all this only works if the previous questions have been filled correctly and you've provided with the product names and geographies and so on. Yeah, and a quick note. So this for pay-as-you-go, for reporting pay-as-you-go sales, you only report new customers acquired during the reporting period. Last but not least, since a few rounds, we've enabled the entry of historical sales into the platform. So this is non-mandatory, but highly appreciated, especially for appliances where the process is more recent. The idea is that to be able to better represent the sector, to be able to better show trends, and especially to be able to better calculate impact, we need to kind of understand the volume over time. And this helps us do it, including for companies that have newly joined the process. So, and it will also be interesting for you when you see your online platform, at least at a global level, because you'll be able to see the trend from past years until now as well, and not just your new data. Just to note that this is not necessarily as scary as it seems, because we only ask you to share historical data aggregated at a global level, so your entire sales to non-industrialized countries. So if you have sales to Europe and North America, we won't count those. But you don't need to add sales at country level here. And please note that once you fill this historical sales tab once, we will kind of freeze it, so you won't be able to return again and change stuff. But if for a specific reason there's been a mistake or anything like that, and you want to correct the historical sales, you can always reach out to Patricia and I, and we will discuss the best procedure to follow. And last but not least, as Jeff mentioned, so there's a final page essentially within the survey, which is just what you can see here on the screen, which is basically validating that you've done everything as you should, finalizing and quitting. So you have to check these boxes if you're a returning company. It's just saying that you've checked that the pre-filled specifications for the products in tabs 3 and 4 for lighting and appliances were correct and nothing has changed, and there's no mistakes. If mandatory questions are missing when you try to submit the questionnaire, it won't work. You'll get a pop-up saying that you've skipped mandatory questions, but they'll be to ease your search for empty cell, they'll be highlighted in red. And obviously, as mentioned before, we need you to be able to finalize and submit the questionnaire for us to be able to take your data into account. And if you've clicked submit, but actually you forgot to enter part of your sales or something like that, you can use the contact help desk within the platform, which will send an email to me. That is it for the presentation. Let me see if we have any questions in the chat. We do not. I'll unmute Chef and Patricia. But yeah, I mean, I'll wait a couple of seconds to see if any questions pop up in the chat. But if not, thanks a lot for attending. Chef and Patricia, do you have any last advice for our new reporting companies?
No, nothing from my side. Otherwise, and thank you very much for joining the webinar. Yeah, looking forward to receive your submissions.
Great, thanks. And as Patricia said earlier on, you can reach her at p.njeri@gogler.org, and you can reach me at o.reynolds@gogler.org for any questions following this webinar and in general during this process. If you have any doubts, any questions before submitting the data, if you need a hand with the platform, we are there to help you. With that, thank you very much everyone for joining. Welcome to the off-grid market sales data collection, and we look